Matthew, just another British sim racer here. Today I'm going to be talking you through a race that I did on RaceRoom. It's probably my go-to racing sim game at the moment. And yeah, just joined a ranked lobby for GT3. We're meant to be doing community night, but quite a few of the community were busy, so I thought I'd just do a ranked race here at Monza. As you can see, we're driving the number 7 Boatley today. And just to give you some background checks, well, that was probably one of the cleanest Monza starts I've ever seen, apart from the Porsche and the Corvette up ahead that gets taken away. But we have two views for you. We have the onboard and TV sort of cameras today. There is a little bit of flicking because I'm not used to doing these sort of videos. And what I actually see in the top left, so I actually do all of my sim racing in VR. So it just gives you kind of two ways of looking at it, really. That is, yeah, it's quite good. So, the information you need to know. Driving the Boatley. Started in 15th place, or 12th place, sorry. Not 15th. And yeah, and it's actually a really entertaining 15 minutes. I don't usually do videos like this, like I mentioned, but the way that this race went, I felt like I kind of had to do something. So as you can see, we're just going past Lucas here in the Merc. And one thing I did notice, if you're new to RaceRoom and you want to get into a GT3 that's fairly stable, I highly recommend the Boatley. It was the first time I've ever used this car before, and it was pretty nice in all areas. It could do with a little bit more front grip. I'm not quite sure what I can do to alter that, but yeah, you can see I'm just a little bit late on the brakes there. But the one thing it does have, as you'll probably see here as we slip in behind Daly, is it's got really good just straight line speed. And around Monza, that's just ever apparent. I mean, we've caught up Daly pretty quickly on the straight there. As we go into the chicane. Second time around, sorry, I don't know all of the corners' names. In fact, I can't even remember any of them right now. It's quite late in the evening here, and yeah, I was just thought I'd put this video together. So let me know in the comments below if you found this entertaining the slightest. We have Daly going around the outside here. We have the inside line into the chicane coming up, and you could really launch the car through this if you got the line right. And as you can see, it can kind of ride the sausage curbs really well. So if you are looking for a GT3 that's kind of nice to control, I do recommend trying the Bentley out, definitely. So as you can see, we've got Henning ahead of us, and in front of them is another Mercedes. I'm not quite sure what the name was, I can't remember. And then we have a GT3 GTR, which the three cars that we see ahead are basically the people that I end up having a good old race with. Right now I believe we're in P9. And we've made some very good ground. I'm feeling relatively confident as I started this race, which is not usually like me. RaceRoom, I kind of admit, is there are some godly drivers on RaceRoom, but you can still have a really great session. As you can see in the VR headset, I was unhappy about something there. Maybe it was just the just my braking. I'm just not quite used to it just yet, being new with the car. But we're currently quite far behind. I believe we're about 1.2, 1.3 seconds behind at the moment, behind the Corvette. So we lost a fair bit of time there because I kind of screwed up the braking zone in the three famous corners coming onto the back straight. So Robinson, there we go. Robinson and Henning, and can't quite see the person in the middle because they were kind of blended in together. But yeah, we have a good old race with them in just a moment. So just powering through the gears. You can brake quite late with this Bentley. I usually used that kind of shadow as the marker, but I overshot it. Just as I was saying, you can brake quite late. Oh, commentator's curse on my own driving. But yeah, you can actually brake reasonably late with the Bentley. It does have some very good brake pads on this car, as long as you keep the heat in. Now the one problem I did find was keeping the tyres warm, even though it's a fairly warm day. in the race itself, you know, it's dry conditions and everything like that, but I just couldn't keep the heat up, especially on the long straights. So when coming up to corners like these, I was definitely suffering with oversteer on the exit, and it was really, really tricky. I think it's this time around, you'll see I'll just run a bit wide, maybe. No, maybe not this one. Maybe not this one, but I definitely run wide a couple of times, coming out of that complex there. I should really learn all of the corner names before I do the video, but this is just how raw my video and my future videos, because I'm going to try and do some more, are going to be. So just someone that loves a racing sim. Don't necessarily know all of the corner names, but I am aware of the tracks, and I have to drive the car relatively quickly. So as we're on to lap 4 in 9th, you can see we are slowly catching up to Henning. There was a bit of a wobble there from Henning, so we try and keep our exit as straight as we can so we can get on the power as soon as we can, essentially. And I'm going to estimate that the fact that I overshot the turn in for the chicane this time around, I'm going to do it just as we clip the orange on the end of this barrier. There we go. As we go into the chicane, and you can really power straight out. If that chicane, if you're new to it and you're really struggling to get the power out of it, take the first part of the chicane in first gear, and by the time you're coming out of the second corner, you're in second, and you're just flying. The exit is a hell of a lot quicker that way. So I do highly recommend doing it that way. So brake just as we can see the off-road for if there was any cars that have crashed at this section. But as you can see, yeah, you can kind of see that I'm having to let off the power a little bit just to get the front to dig in, and just help the car get round that third part of the corner, off the complex, sorry. But we're coming up to lap 5, and this is where I believe the GT3 GTR is starting to struggle a little bit. I think the driver was a little bit out of his comfort zone, shall we say. They had a fabulous start on at the beginning. They actually started one place behind us, down in 13th. So they set off like an absolute jetpack, but yeah, they started to struggle holding the position. So Henning, oh, we got 2 Hennings, M Henning and K Henning. Okay, interesting. So the 2 Hennings. That's not going to be awkward to talk about. Currently chasing down the GT3R. I wonder if they're related. That would be pretty cool if they were. That's pretty sweet. But yeah, we're certainly about to join the pack, and this is what I mean by the entry and exit of chicane. So we're going in first. We get a nice little clip, and we can really power on out. So if you're struggling with that chicane, because I know a lot of people are, that is a nice way of getting it done, especially in the Bentley. And as we can see, the Mercedes having a look on the inside, and I think sadly the GT3 takes them off. Yes, so M Henning is taken out by the GT3R, and that is kind of a little bit of what's to come from the GTR. They're not the cleanest of drivers. Don't mean to call anyone out, but there are a few things that, again, if you're new to it, I highly advise not doing, because it's just going to ruin your own race. So we're all pushing incredibly hard, especially that GT3. The Corvette in front, Henning, is clearly quicker than the GTR as well, as you're about to witness. But you can see that I'm also getting a really good tow. So we come out of the last corner. I have to let off the pace a little bit because I just carried a bit too much through. But I'm going to keep my car behind Robinson. He's the car in front, so it's a possibility that I can get such a slipstream that I can get alongside Henning, but closes the door here. I go to have a look on the inside because he's not defending, but I decide, you know what, this time around I'm going to hold off a little bit. I'm gonna let Henning have a go at Robinson. He's been waiting long enough. I'm going to let him know that I'm not going to be stupid. I'm not going to do any stupid moves. I'm not going to be, you know, one of those where I'm just going to go in every single time. I'm going to be a little bit more calculated than that. So we're coming up to the second chicane now. early on the brakes again, because we don't want to go into the back of them, which we almost did. Bear in mind, I actually feel like I braked earlier watching that back. I braked earlier than usual, so clearly the brakes were really cold. Did I call it last most? Last most? I think I called it last most, these corners here. But yeah, just making sure we hit our apexes. That's probably the one thing that I'm concentrating on right now. Not too worried about getting the overtakes done. I know that we got a decent gap to the car behind after the spin. Henning's looking on the inside, but decides to go against it, which kind of puts me in a decent position on the back straight run. But there we go. A little bit of a let off through the second part of that complex there, just to help me be able to put all the power down for the third. But yeah, I think with a slight tweak of the setup, this Bentley can be incredible. But we'll see. So a bit of a wide entry in this time. You can see in the VR cam where my eyes are looking. I'm keeping my eyes on whichever car I want to get a slip again, and we're going to pick Robinson. He's close enough for us to get to slip, so Henning has to come back in. He's lost a lot of speed because he went for the onside drag, and this time we're in a much better position. We're much further alongside the Corvette. And are we going to do a Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen? No, because both drivers are respectful of each other. Sorry, that had to just get in there. But no, got a really good respectful overtake against Henning there. Henning kind of giving me more space than necessary and vice versa. As Henning has a little look on the inside, but I think he's just too far back. So my attention now is on that GT3, because I know that I am quicker than this GT3. I've been watching how much he's been holding Henning up, both Hennings, and in turn that holds me up. So you can kind of see from Robinson that he's pushing quite a lot. They are really pushing the limits of that GTR, as we've got a nice little bit of slip heading towards the complex. Have a little peek on the inside, just because I don't want to ram him up. The end did clip his back wheel arch, which is not ideal. They closed the door quite aggressively, with Henning right on our tail. But Henning is also incredibly smart driver as well. He's using me as the toe. But see what happens the moment you come out of that toe, you lose a lot of speed. So we're right on the rear end of Robinson, which means that we shouldn't be too affected by Henning at the back. But Henning decides to slipstream me, and even though I'm the car in front, that's probably not the wisest. It's always probably best to go for the car that's in front of the car that's in front of you. I know that sounds stupid, but it keeps you on the racing line, or depending on where, in this instance, say we're keeping the racing line. And if you're able to sneak in on the side of the car that's actually in front of you, you might be able to get in a position that way. So yeah, I recommend in that instance Henning should have been slipping off Robinson. There was a lot more road ahead. Robinson weaving a little bit to try and break the toe and be a bit defensive. Really struggling to gain control off of that car. Slowed me right up to where Henning just says hello, pops his car into the left hand side, but I've got the inside line, and responsibly Henning gives way to the battle. You can see in the VR that Robinson is really pushing himself, or themselves, sorry, to keep that car on the road, to the point that I'm starting to really bump draft off Robinson now. I take a look up the inside, and I know that he's been aggressive, so I'm going to be as well. Sadly, I go wide, and you can see that Robinson basically cuts the whole part of the third part of the complex, which they would have got a warning for, essentially, and some instant points. That was a huge cut. Basically, if you don't have a tyre on the black stuff, then there's a problem. But I dive up the inside, saw that there was a gap, and we are through. But it's not the wisest necessarily. If it was final lap, yeah, I've done pretty well. but I'm putting my car in a defensive position. It's in the middle of the road, making Robinson having to commit to the inside line. I give Robinson the respectful space and just tuck back on the inside. Henning again being very smart, playing it cautious. Sadly didn't quite get a good enough exit because my rear end was in the way of him getting a nice straight line exit. Robinson again is now back in front as we're on to lap 9 of this 15-minute race, which is basically coming up to the last lap now. So I see the inside. I know that I can brake a lot later into this corner. Sadly I overshoot it, and I actually gave back the position. I held off a little bit and gave Robinson back the position. I don't like overtaking cars unnecessarily, but I'm just letting Robinson know, you know what, mate, I'm here. Look up the inside, make them panic, and runs wide. So I basically get the position by getting into their heads, which is what a lot of drivers do. As Henning and I have a drag race down to the complex. Henning knows that if I'm too late on the brakes, I'm going to run wide because I'm quite narrow into the corner. And I ran wide again, so Henning's alongside, but he runs wide. And we both made that corner properly, and Robinson cuts it and gets past Henning again. Which, watching this back is yeah, you can maybe do it one lap, but don't do it every single lap. I get that you're trying to keep momentum and keep going, but I'm pretty sure Robinson has a time penalty. Because I'm pretty sure they let off, and Henning goes past. Yeah, there we go. We can see that in the background. So Henning gets 6th place. We finish in 5th, which is amazing after the car span off at the complex. And yeah, that was the race. I thoroughly, the night that this happened, my heart was absolutely pounding. I absolutely loved it. It was so good. The Bentley is incredibly good to drive, so if anyone that's starting off from RaceRoom GT3 needs a car, I highly recommend choosing the Bentley. Pick number 7 because delivery is quite nice. But yeah, if you enjoyed that video, I would appreciate some comments, just some feedback. Don't mind whether it's good, bad or indifferent. Like the video if you like it, dislike it if you disliked it. And if you want to see more content and join in with our community race every Thursday, hit that subscribe button. But until next time, I'll see you later. Bye bye.